Remember that time that we bought a 1980s fixer-upper and renovated it for $70,000 in 14 months while a worldwide pandemic was going on and we were still working full-time?
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember we bought this house and I hadn't even seen it yet. The first room I walked into and I was like, yeah, It was a room stuck in the 80s with knockdown textured walls, stained wrinkled carpets that I think were supposed to be tan, everyone's favorite popcorn acoustic ceiling, and a glorious mirrored wall, which definitely made the room feel at least 17 times larger. And don't even get me started on the flickering fluorescent lights. It was like a horror movie. And it begins.
As much as I love watching carpet cleaning videos on YouTube, I knew those old wrinkled carpets had to go. We grabbed our trusty old box cutters and got to work slicing and dicing, and as soon as we lifted the first piece of carpet, we could see that the padding underneath had started to turn into dust. This subfloor was going to be the floor we'd be walking on for pretty much the whole renovation, and so I spent the time to remove all 12,483 staples that were holding down the padding dust, since if you didn't notice, we got some adorable little bare feet running around. The sliding doors and windows still had some life in them, and with money being finite, we wanted to see if we could get the sliders working a little bit better. It turns out that if you clean them really well, and replace a roller wheel here and there, you can get an old slider to work great. I cleaned and scoured the aluminum until they were grime-free and smooth, and then I masked off the glass and put a fresh coat of paint on them.
Now, if you're wondering why we just flipped that carpet back down onto the ground instead of picking it up, it's because we also knew that gross, but luckily not asbestos-flavored popcorn ceiling was going to come down.
After attending YouTube University, I learned that if your popcorn ceilings don't have a thick layer of paint on them, you can soften them with water. This was the case for us, so we sprayed the ceiling and used our wide plaster knife to scrape the kernels off. It was easy. A little too easy. Okay, so I scraped a little too much off, and this ceiling will look worse before it gets better, okay? I fixed it with some plaster, and it's like the popcorn was never there.
And now that we have our large and rather barren room nice and echoey, just the way we like it, we have one more thing we gotta get out of here, and that is the room enlarging mirror.
It's funky, and I don't like it.
Boo!
We put giant tape X's on the mirror so that we can keep Bloody Mary in her mirror realm, and then we proceed to just rip that mirror off the wall. Caution thrown to the wind. This is one of those instances where I favor whomever installed this so quickly and dirtily because it made my life easier. So thank you, whomever you are. But for now, holes. Many holes, which we will deal with later.
Remember that carpet that we left down on the floor? Well, it's actually a pre-installed drop cloth. So we cut it into manageable size strips and rolled it up with all the sound-deadening, non-asbestos flavored popcorn and hauled it away. Good riddance.
One issue that may not have been apparent so far is that this room had only one lonely light fixture to illuminate the whole room, and my eyes need more light to look at the pictures and all the manuals I pass time reading. So we needed to get some of those wafer lights up in that vaulted ceiling. We looked at the light's recommended spacing, and then I did all the math in my head because I'm Asian, and then proceeded to use our laser to keep things straight. A 6-inch hole saw can make perfect holes while breaking your wrist.
Oh my balls.
So we threw on our Hercules muscles, and then went down the line. To run our Romex through the ceiling, we bought a special super long drill bit that we could feed into the ceiling cavity, and it also has a small hole at the end to tie a fish tape to. If you ever attempt this, just go slow and always remember that your roof can succumb to this beast of a bit. Ask me how I know. Anyways, we wired all the holes and now that wire needs to go to all the lights. A few twists and shoves and now we have light. New lights also deserve new switches. So I pulled out the switches and recorded myself studying the years past electricians' work. Monkey see, monkey do, and with that, the switches were turned shiny and new.
Now for those holes in the wall left from the mirror. We realized that we could repair all the holes, fill the settling cracks, and replicate the knockdown texture. But was this not perhaps an opportunity? An opportunity for accentuating that wall you see right before you when you first walk into the house?
Yes! Shiplap sounds like a great way to hide the cracks and holes. I mean, add some character. We bought 1/4-inch sheets of birch and ripped them into 6-inch strips. We used our favorite Zinsser bin, a shellac-based primer, to prime them, and then took a very long time to get the first board perfect. Once we had that first board installed, the rest went up without too much trouble. Before putting up each board, I painted the wall where the reveal was in between each board, so that I wouldn't have to paint in the 3/16-inch crack afterwards. A stir stick made a perfect spacer block for resting the boards on while nailing them.
Next, we turned our attention to this weird block with angle thingy sticking out into the room. What is it, you may ask?
What's in there?
That is for us to know and for you to find out. But it doesn't really matter because we can't remove it. So we shall make it look intentional instead of the blip it is. In the bedrooms, we have board and battens, so we thought that same aesthetic could tie this eyesore into the theme a bit more. I don't know what I was thinking when I did this, but it had something to do with making the walls plump.
What is she doing? Use all 100 pounds to crush that thing. I think it's on there.
Oh, it's not there anymore. So let's talk about that time that we wanted to make a cute little niche for putting your keys on, or pictures of loved ones, or this jalopy. Anyways, MDF makes a great niche after you cut it up and glue it back into a certain shape. And what if we used the wiring that was here to install a light?
Electric spaghetti?
Yes, that's a great idea. At this point, we had spent all this time fixing this and patching that and caulking both this and that we were pretty excited to cover up all of our hard work. So we masked off the windows and kitchen and fired up our tiny Graco sprayer. That thing makes quick work of a room this size, so we flung that sprayer wand around a few times and we were done with the painting. Whoop whoop. With a room looking this fresh, a splotchy subfloor can really start to stand out, even after walking on it like this for a year. We purchased a stone core waterproof vinyl plank flooring with underlayment attached. Since this is a man-made product, there are a limited number of patterns they printed on these boards. To avoid repetition, I organized all the boards by pattern and made sure to avoid putting the same pattern next to itself. I put the end cuts on the wall and reused them for the opposite end when pattern and length allowed me to. At this point, we had had a hope and dream circling in our minds for the past year about this darn beam. The room was okay at this point, but we didn't have much of a wow going on in here. This beam was going to be that wow. We finally committed to encasing this thing in wood, pulling the warmth from the floor to the ceiling. First, we needed to straighten out the beam. We basically shimmed out where we were going to nail onto this beam. And once we had our shims level, plumb, and straight, we could make our boxes from those shims measurements. We built 3 boxes out of solid pine and plywood, and since our ceilings weren't straight either, we lifted the boxes up to the ceiling, making sure they were level, and then traced the ceiling's contour onto the top of the boxes. When we cut the tops, stained the wood to match the floors, and raised them back around the beam, the boxes fit perfectly. A couple faux metal straps made out of PVC, heated to wrap around the beams, hid the seams of the boxes. And, wouldn't you know, after some fresh paint for the doors, new curtain rods and curtains, spiffy new floor vent grates, and some fresh black hardware to replace the crusty painted over gold stuff, we have a transformed living room, fit for watching TV, making memories with friends and family, and living in this room.
There are many ways to renovate a living room, but this is just our 2 cents on how we turned this outdated 80s living room into a Farmhouse Modern style living room.
We filmed more of this house's renovation, so if you'd like to see the transformation of the rest of the house, let us know in the comments below which room you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.